De Blasio to phase out New York City gifted and talented programs. This is a New York Times story. On Friday, he unveiled a plan to overhaul gifted and talented education in New York City elementary schools, calling for sweeping changes to a highly selective program that has been widely criticized for exacerbating segregation in the nation's largest school system. The mayor's action attempt to address what the city has known for decades. Its gifted and talented program has controlled to racially segregated classrooms and schools for thousands of students citywide. De Blasio has criticized for not taking forceful action to fulfill his promise of tackling inequality in public schools. The announcement comes just 3 months before he must leave office because of term limits, putting the fate of the plan in the hands of his successor. Adam, thoughts?
So let me get this straight. He just wants everyone in the New York City school system just to be in regular classes?
Yeah. No
is that
more
what it is?
AP and honors.
So as someone who has taken regular classes, something called academic excellence, I've been in honors classes and I've been AP classes. For anyone that's ever been in school knows that's a huge freaking difference. To give you a case example, I was by far and away the smartest person in regular classes when I took them. And I was by far and away the dumbest person in AP classes when I took those classes. So I had to find my bearings. I had to figure out I was actually pretty good at history. I couldn't read so good, so I had to get into regular, the fact that you're just gonna lump everyone into one class.
Are you saying you wish you would have never taken any AP classes so you wouldn't have felt inferior?
No. It's you gotta understand that bottom line is I think this is a horrible idea. I don't know if they're looking for equality or what's the term that everyone's using
Diversity,
these days?
Equity, inclusion.
Maybe
on a serious note, how did it feel when you went in? I've never taken AP. I've never taken honors. I'm 1.8 ESL, lifelong ESL, EFL. When you went from regular class to AP and honors, what did you feel as a student?
Well, look, when I was in regular classes, so I went from public school my whole life. And then I got a scholarship, so I was in private school the last few years. So they just kind of were like, you did good in public school, we're going to throw you in honors classes all across the board at a school called Miami Country Day in Miami. And it's kind of like a Westminster. It's a good school. Yep. And I realized, oh, shit, I ain't ready for some of this.
We had a hedge fund guy over that's extremely successful in Greenwich, and they were trying to put their kids in Miami Country Day, and they were raving about the school.
Great school.
Yeah.
I'm very, lifelong contacts, great. But the point is this. I realized very quickly I was good at some stuff and not good at other stuff, and then I went down to regular. And the bottom line is this. I don't understand this idea. Kids work their asses off to excel in school. Now you're going to have super, super smart kids just sitting there literally dumbfounded being in regular classes. I think this is a horrible idea.
So basically are they saying that the curriculum will not be AP? Is that what we're saying?
Apparently.
Is that what we're assuming?
Making it easier for you to not feel inferior to others who are.
So they don't want us to compete.
That's
exactly what it is.
And I think essentially that's wrong.
So if you put yourself in the, let's look at both sides of the coin. Who are the kids that are I feel, inferior. I feel like I'm being not included in the smart kids. So I protect my feelings and put everyone in my class. That's that kid, I guess, or the. Probably not even the kid, their parents, I would assume. Now think about the kid that's look, I'm working my freaking ass off here. I read every single night. I'm strategizing. I'm improving. My parents have raised me right, and now you want me to go to the just regular class? How does that help me? How does that get me AP credits to get into college? Makes no sense.
Here's what I'm thinking about. Which kid actually wants this? Look, I'm the other kid, right? I'm the kid at the bottom of the, what do you call it? How you said,
barrel.
I'm the bottom of the regular class.
Yeah, exactly.
So not the you're saying you were the best in the regular class. I'm the bottom of the regular classes.
Okay,
right?
You're not excelling at all.
I wonder if they did this, would this make me feel more confident? Would this make me feel more special? Would this make me feel more like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for doing this because I was feeling very weak. I don't even think those kids care.
Yeah,
but go and think about, do those kids even care?
No, you're still going to grade on a curve, right? That's the kid's still going to get a D or an F.
It's funny you say that because Gerard and I both wrote this.
Exactly.
I just wrote it just now, and he wrote.
Yeah, you're going to still the smart kids are going to get A's, and the dumb kids are going to not.
Yeah,
it goes beyond that. It goes beyond that, guys. I mean, what's happening here is the white savior complex. This is the white liberal activist who's she's in class and she's the teacher and she's like, well, if every kid just had the resources that these kids in the AP classes had, they'd all have the same capacity. They are completely and totally incapable of seeing differences between human beings. They're incapable in seeing that some people may excel in A and not excel in B. All it is access to opportunity and the resources, and we'll all be exactly the same. We'll create nothing but a land of square pegs and square holes. It's nonsense. I mean, really what it comes down to is it shows what education, public education specifically in this country is, man. It's an indoctrination camp. It has nothing to do with education. It has nothing to do with improving the intellectual capacity of our next generations. In fact, I'd argue that they are putting obedience ahead of education. All they want to do is herd these people into classes and indoctrinate them politically on what they should think. They don't teach people how to think anymore, which is really all AP classes do. AP classes, now you're talking about logic. Now you're talking about philosophy. Now you're talking about
they offer
root opportunities.
Did you take AP?
I did.
You took AP?
Yes.
Okay, so Kai, I'm assuming you.
Not all.
Well, you did take honors and AP classes.
Here's the difference.
Okay.
All right. In regular history class, they teach you what happened. In AP history, they ask you why it happened. And that is the difference. That's the major difference, okay? The major difference is this is what happened on these dates. Regurgitate this. Get it right on the test so our school can get money from the state.
There you go.
In AP, you're already graded on a higher curve. You can have a 5.0 instead of a 4.0. So a B student in AP is still a 4.0 student. Okay, so they already get the money from the state, and it's a small amount of students that get into this. It's that other side of the bell curve. But they ask you, these are the people that they start asking questions. Why? Okay, and I feel like in this environment, not to be crazy conspiracy theory, these people do not want kids learning how to ask the question why. They do not want a generation of people asking why this is happening, why we're doing things this way. They want people that understand obedience above all else.
Well, this is just the New York City.
It's not, though.
It's not, though. It's the
first
start.
domino to fall.
It's the start.
It's the first domino to fall.
I mean,
San Francisco's looking to do the same thing.
You think other school systems across the country are going to implement this en masse?
How about this? The fact that Harvard was caught by having completely different admission standards predicated on your
Asian
nationality.
Kids, you mean? Okay.
Asian kids, white kids, and then everybody else after that, right? Where you had to score so remarkably higher than other people to get in. All right, the social stratification, man. Like again, it goes back to everything that we're talking about. And also, on a side note, Bill de Blasio, first mayor in 100 years to not have a professional sports team win a championship in New York City. I don't think that is, look, it's an interesting coincidence, but it goes again, like excellence is not something that they want.
No.
And it's amazing that whenever we're talking about equality, whenever we're talking about inclusion, it's never about lifting people up. It's always about ripping people down.
Of course, they're trying to get everybody to, instead of, okay, easiest way to put it, we want you all to blend in with each other instead of stand out. You're supposed to have standouts. So what you're saying is to encourage these people, fan their flames, push them, because you don't want to be the stumble bum, is what we would say back in my day, which means like you're going to be one on the corner doing stupid shit.
Well, Pat, let me ask you.
Definitely got to focus on these things because it's very imperative. And what about the kids that want to excel and get college credit while they're in high school? My younger brother did that. He was Phi Theta Kappa at 16 years old. So he was exceptional, right?
Who's pushing for this?
Well, should there be varsity sports? I mean, what's the next logical conclusion?
Right, everyone
should there be varsity sports?
You just get the nerd getting pummeled by Gerard in high school? That's not fun.
But I'm just saying, varsity is AP sports.
Right.
Right? I mean, why if everything is going to be exactly the same, then why isn't everything exactly the same? Why is it only about these this is where my spidey senses start to tingle. Why is it only about dumbing down and indoctrinating the future? That's when I start to say, man,
is this an effective strategy? Is this an effective strategy, though? So let's just say that is your outcome.
So.
Let's just say that's your outcome, and you're trying to dumb them down. Do you think? Okay, so do you think the guy that's going to make it out is going to make it out? Do you think the guy that's going to be a standout is going to be a standout? You can't do nothing to him.
I think that their argument is that we're not going to divert the resources to a small section of people. We're going to give those resources to everybody.
No, but I'm not asking you that. What I'm asking you is, do you think the guy that's going to make it is going to make it, whether they do this or not?
I think what's going to happen is twofold. You're going to have people, like Adam said, that are so bored in these classes that they check out. And you're going to have people that the conversation is so high above them that they check out. So I think that you're going to have an opportunity, really, for Khan Academy or some secondary educational school where autodidacts are going to have to seek out.
Autodidact.
Autodidacts, people that are
study on their own. They're self-taught. They're self-educated.
They're going to have to seek out their own path.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen on both ends. You know, I got a buddy of mine, Jay McDermott, one of my best friends in the world. He was never dumb, but he was always he was just disinterested in school. Just disinterested. Never wanted to do anything. All he wanted to do was talk to chicks the whole time. If it wasn't for sports, he would have never gone to class at all. Then he goes to college and something clicks and he's like, you know what, man, I got to get my shit together. Now the dude's got an MBA and he works at Fitch. Like, he's crushing it. But similar to yourself, if he had a 2.0 GPA in high school, it was a lot. Like, he just didn't care. You know what I'm saying? So in this environment, pushing him along might work for a guy like Jay because he doesn't get left behind.
But in correct me if I'm wrong, every class is different. Like I said, I was in dumb math, but in smart history, what have you, everyone excels at different things. Like you talked about.
Were you
your
good in
boy.
math? Was math
Math, I was good up until a certain point, and then when you started throwing trigonometry and geometry, I'm like, I'm out. This is
Did you take
useless.
math analysis?
I don't recall if I took that. I crushed it at normal stuff like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and then when they started throwing X into the
Pythagorean
equation,
theorem and all
I'm
this
like,
stuff.
Differential equations.
I was always like the class clown. I was like, we're never gonna use this shit. Like, I was that kid in the back room. Like, why are we doing this?
Makes sense.
Can I just go like play football? But the point is that some people excel in certain classes, some people don't. So if you're gonna put everyone in the same class, same thing, like that, in itself, whether it's sports, whether it's wood shop, all right, we're all doing it. Whoever does, you know, but in each class, each subject, to put everyone
they have a hard
in
time.
the same thing makes
The
no sense
teacher
to
was
me.
more important than the curriculum. The teacher, if the teacher made it interesting, if the teacher made
Yes.
it, you know, the material engaging, then everybody was involved. Like whether or not we were good at math or liked math, it depended on the teacher. I had a teacher that made math
That's
into
true.
money and baseball statistics, and we were all
Totally
involved in
agree.
it.
Yeah.
But then we had another teacher who was like, sit there, shut up, and read the book.
So
and
let's go
nobody
back
wanted
to it.
do
Let's
that.
go back to it. So the question is, will this do anything to the guy that's going to make it anyways? Does this affect the standout guy?
I think it does.
You think so?
You always hear these talented people. We always hear it in sports, but it could be in academics as well. These talented people that something went wrong and
I
they
fully
didn't
agree
make
with
it.
them. I fully agree. Let me explain to you
know?
why I agree with you. You guys know the story of Nick Bollettieri? You know Nick Bollettieri, the tennis coach?
player?
Yeah, the tennis coach.
I know,
Okay.
yeah, of course.
Do you know who he is? Like, have you met him?
Yes. He's down in South Florida.
Yeah, he is down in South Florida.
He used to teach all my friends.
So let me tell you who this guy is.
Yeah.
How do you describe him? Yeah,
Very tan, very
his
talented.
students,
Very
Yeah.
any of the students that went to his camp, how many Grand Slams do you think they won? All his students that
They've
have ever
crushed it. They've crushed it.
180 Grand Slam winners came out. 180 total Grand Slams. He coached these guys.
I think your family member Andre Agassi.
Yeah, Andre Agassi was his phenom.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's a story. There's a documentary about this guy. Where he's coaching players, right? And he's coaching Jimmy Connors and he's coaching Agassi, and they're going back and forth. The story then goes to a story of two girls that he was coaching. One of the girls is coming up and she's crushing it. She's kicking ass, 11 years old. She's going to be the youngest, to go out and compete, all the stuff that's taking place with her. And then all of a sudden, the father comes up and the father says, Nick, I want you to drop everybody, because the father was a very, very rich, billionaire. And he says, I want you to drop everybody. I just want you to coach my daughter. He's like, I can't do that. I got 100 kids here. It's not my business model. He said, I'll pay you whatever you want. He says, you don't understand. That's not my business model. He says, I will pay. How much you make money? I'm going to make you this much. He said, I don't want the money. I want to coach the kids. Anyways, the pops gets pissed. He says, I'm out of here. So he leaves. The daughter is telling the story. The girl that could have been she says, well, my dad took me. He says, don't worry about it. We'll go find another coach. They go to another coach, lower standards. They go to another coach, lower standards. The dad kept telling the daughter, don't worry about it. This guy's good for you. This guy's good for you. This guy's good for you. The girl's like, I eventually became a nobody. If I would have stayed with Nick, I would have been a top 3, right? And the whole story with Nick is standards and expectation. High standards and expectation. People rise up. Agassi, Courier, Celis, what do you call it? The sisters,
Seles,
all of
wow.
those guys went through him, right? What's the moral of the story here? Drop the standards. I believe that 12%, to me, it goes back to the same thing. The 12% that has what it takes to dominate but they don't get the right challenge. They're not pushed. They're not challenged to do more. Somebody's not tough on it where the expectation's high. You're going to lose that 12%. So I think this actually affects
I agree.
those
Like you
guys.
said,
I fully believe that.
teachers matter. Coaches
I don't,
matter.
I don't think it's just teachers, because remember, even Nick wasn't the one that was teaching everybody. Nick had 40 teachers that were teaching
put
people.
together a program.
I think it's a system of standards.
Yes.
I think it's a set of standards and protocols. When you have a certain set of high expectation and standards, one of two things is going to happen to you. Here's what happens. You're either going to respond to it or you're going to hate this guy forever. They kept telling stories of two people, two guys and two girls, Agassi and Jimmy Connors, right? Agassi was his phenom. Guess who's the only person that didn't want to do an interview on this documentary? Agassi's the only guy that refused to do the interview. All the other people agreed to do it.
Why wouldn't Agassi do it?
Who didn't do well with him is the people that hated high standards. Agassi hated it, and this other girl hated it. But Jimmy Connors loved it. So Jimmy Connors won 8 Grand Slams. The people that like high standards, like, responded to it. When you have high standards and expectation, this is what you produce. This is always going to happen. What is the most annoying thing about a great example?
When it's right.
What's the most annoying thing about having a leader that's got a great example? It's a
Proven
great
track
freaking
record.
example. It sucks. It absolutely sucks, because you're like, the hell with you, so much pressure. I don't want to have to live up to this expectation. But what's the best thing about having a guy like that? He can push you.
Yep.
But regardless, not everybody's going to fit to those standards.
Correct.
You're still going to produce some people that are going to be resenting it and coming out and saying, you know what, screw you. I hate that teacher. Everybody had that one coach that later on they hated, but deep down inside they're like, the fuck, mother.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Piece of you know, that guy really had me. He had really challenged me. We all have that, right? I think this is a travesty what they're doing to the kids there, because there could be a few phenoms that we're going to find out about 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now that we're probably going to lose. But I still think that there's a small percentage of people, put them at 1%, 2%, small percentage, they're going to figure out a way to kill
With the
them.
law of unintended consequences, something all these commies refuse to admit exists, man. All it's going to take now is that wealthy people or even middle-class people are going to put their kids into private school, where you could have had your kids communicating, networking, learning from these other people who were gifted, and then picking each other up like you're talking about. Now what you're going to have is you're going to have this, again, this forced social stratification, this segregation, where it's like, I can't have my kid in the school. I can't have my kid in the school.
Wealthy people are already putting their kids in private school.
Sure,
They're
in
not
New York,
waiting
but
for-
but part of the reason why that but again, we're thinking
But
New
you're
York,
not wealthy. You're not from a wealthy family.
but you're thinking New
Right.
York.
I got a scholarship.
No. Of course. What I'm trying to say is I don't want to lose you.
But you're
You're the one
talking
I don't want to
about-
lose. The guy that is a phenom, the guy that is a guy that needs somebody to challenge him because he'll respond to it.
In Manhattan, they've already been in private schools, but in Queens, they haven't been. In Staten Island, they haven't been. In Brooklyn, a lot of parts of Brooklyn, they're not. You got Lincoln, Lafayette. You got some. I mean, this
Is this the first
This is
of
what your
its
city
kind?
taxes
Like, has
go
anybody
to. Your
ever tried
city
to
taxes
implement
go to
this?
this. Well, what happens is what they tried to do, which was probably wrong in the other direction, is that they had like gifted schools where they took the entire like gifted student population
Magnets, like-
and then they
magnet
put them
schools.
in gifted schools, which probably wasn't right in its own right.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.